let's, before I take questions, I want to make a couple more quick introductions at some of the booths, and I'd ask the people that I announced to kind of raise your hands so people know who you are if they have questions. From the City of Hope Wind, Brian Shea and Chief Paul Dean are here. There's Paul. Brian Shea's in the back there. Grays Harbor Terminal LLC, U.S. Development. I know Kevin Laborn's here and some of his team. If you have questions. Greater Grays Harbor Inc., I keep referring to Tim's over here behind me. Imperial Terminal Services, John Plaza is here, and his team. Port of Grays Harbor, I think it'll be Leonard and whoever else we can get over here in the corner if you have questions. I feel delinquent here. My staff, I see Joseph is on this one. I think Lisa, Ben, and Robin are over there, and I know there's a lot of the port staff here tonight to help accommodate this crowd, and I really appreciate them stepping up as usual and providing the support. The Puget Sound Pacific Railroad, a property of Genesee and Wyoming, did I say that right? Don Seals back there, and Nate Bob Jones, and Patrick, they're all back there. The Washington Department of Ecology, I think Sally's here, and Alan Bogner. There's Sally, I know I saw Alan someplace, with the Governor's Office of Regulatory Assistance. Westway Terminal Company, I see Robbie and Ken Shoemaker in the back corner over there. And then from the Coast Guard, we have Lieutenant Sean Morrison, somewhere. Still here? Okay. Oh, there they are, they're back there. Plus Marine Science Technician First Class Jennifer O'Toole. She's okay, I can see her raise her hand. So with that, that's just to kind of give you an idea of the variety of expertise that we have here to answer your questions. But with that, I'll, I don't know that we set up for a microphone for questions, so probably the best thing is I'll try to repeat your question. Go ahead.
I have just two real short ones.
Sir, if you could stand up and say that, and maybe turn behind you. All right.
Yeah, I just have two questions. The first one is with all of these companies with a potential hazard, for marine life and everything with the crude by rail. All these corporations have LLC, limited liability corporation, attached to them. I'm wondering what that means overall. And the second one, the current maintenance of the infrastructure, meaning the tracks, is absolutely deplorable. You go into the entrance by Top Food, you about bumper hit the axle. And this just goes on. It's just like whoever's responsible for the tracks won't do anything about it. Why should we think that all the tracks going forward that they're going to be maintained? It's got to be realized we're on film.
Okay.
That's all.
The good question. I got them both. The maintenance, I know we at least annually we have the railroad come in and give a report to the commissioners on what they've done, or what their capital plan is for the year. They just got done replacing a lot of railroad ties. I would encourage you to go back and talk to Don Steele and ask him if you got a specific problem, they need to know about it. But they do have a regular annual budget to do rail replacement and tie replacement. Just because they're an LLC does not mean they get a free pass. It's a limited liability company, so you're beyond.
What does it mean?
It's a type of
You gave us the name of it, but what does it mean?
Lawbelt, you want to answer that?
You better go, lawyer.
An alternative form of a corporation under Washington law. In addition to the insurance that those entities would be required to carry simply because they need to continue their existence, the court includes in its leases an obligation to carry pollution liability insurance. And there also were, of course, federal and state laws that mandated cleanups. That's what you're worried about.
Chehalis River and the estuaries. And that was just to beef up the response in the case of disaster. And I'm wondering how the addition of all of this oil to this area, the millions and millions of additional barrels and gallons of oil, how does that compute with spillage? And did you hear about what happened on the Mississippi River today?
I'm not, no, I didn't. I'm glad to answer your question, and we'll make note if there was something
I want to
happened
say
today.
one thing about barge, though. So that's, I don't think that this is considering the Chehalis River and the natural resources that are here. I don't think you explained how that would happen if there was a spill.
You're absolutely right. The Port is not a regulatory agency. That's why we have the Department of Ecology, the Coast Guard. There are folks, I'm not an expert in determining how do you mitigate or prevent, the risk.
Then let's hear from them.
Well, let's hear about the mitigation.
That's why we have them here for you.
No, let's hear from them now.
Any other questions?
That is my question.
Yes.
No, we're not.
Well, I'm sorry, I got you next.
My question is, Gary, you talked about the little barges and ships. What kind of hulls are you talking about as far as the rail cars?
Excuse me, I didn't explain that very well. The rail cars are typically double-ended with heavier steel, double-ended on the end of them. Rail cars don't typically get T-boned. They usually, if there's going to be an incident, it's usually front to back or end to end. So one of the things that they've come up with is designed to take some of the pressure off. One of the other things that would happen here is the speeds that we have here, or they operate on in Grace Harbor County, are actually relatively slow. Not to say that there still can't be an incident, but the likelihood of a severe incident is a lot less at the speeds we typically operate. Okay.
Yeah, I live by the port, and I'm wondering about the noise besides the obvious technological concerns. It's already and no one's really messed up. Would you repeat the question?
Yeah, the question, the concern was a gentleman lives near one of the port facilities and is concerned about the noise. There is noise, obviously, with the rail cars, although once they're moving, it's usually not as loud as if they're building a train. That's when you get the banging. I'm not sure. It's an industrial area. We do our best to try to control what that is, but obviously we don't do a great job if you're concerned about it. That's about all I can tell you.
Sucks to be used. We live there.
Go ahead, Fred.
That's about the answer.
Got you next, John. Go ahead, I'll try to repeat the question.
Okay, with all this crude that would be coming in here, it has to be processed in the United States before it's sent anywhere else. What refineries are you planning on feeding this oil to?
There are 2 or 3 in California. I'm looking for a nod back there from somebody, and there's also, I don't know how the Puget Sound refineries, obviously there could be oil that goes back to those facilities, but as I mentioned, Anacortes and Ferndale already are having crude oil delivered by rail, so I'm not sure that this would benefit them. I think the primary beneficiaries would be in California.